9-year-old Matthew Gainey was a happy, energetic, and loving kid. He loved going to the beach, listening to music, and enjoyed spending time with his family.
He's always been well-liked. He gets along with everybody. Just was very pleasant to be around.
Unfortunately, all of that would change on March 17, 2009, when the Gaineys' lives were tragically changed forever. On that day, while Matthew was at the stove in the kitchen, his Old Navy t-shirt and Gap undershirt suddenly caught fire.
And he was completely on his right side, engulfed in flames. His skin was like peeling off.
Matthew attempted to remove the shirt to put out the flames, but the material melted to his skin. Each year, product manufacturers like Quicksilver, Pacific Sunwear, The Gap, and Old Navy produce millions of units for consumers to purchase. What the Gaineys didn't know was that the shirts they purchased from these companies were defective and created a product that is extremely flammable. This is a major defect when trying to market to the general public, especially children. They should have known that consumers were going to use the defective shirts in situations unknown by the companies. Consumers assume these products would be suitable for children and can be used without adult supervision. And considerations weren't made to prevent such accidents by properly inspecting and testing the products. Quicksilver, Pacific Sunwear, The Gap, and Old Navy did not properly place an appropriate label or warning cautioning any consumers of the potential dangers and risks of the product. Following the incident, Matthew was left with serious third-degree burns across his body. He was forced to undergo several painful surgeries and skin grafts, a procedure that involves the removal of skin from one area of the body and transplanting it to a different area of the body. Matthew was also left in a medically induced coma for 6 weeks because the pain would have been too intense to endure had he been awake.
My son was in so much pain and he was not going to have a hand when he woke up. The next morning, he went into surgery. And the same thing continued as we prayed all day.
And then, I woke up with like a scariest thing ever, like a giant tube like going down my throat, a black giant tube, and the room was just dark.
Matthew lost his right nipple and tips of his fingers. His condition was so bad that doctors feared they would have to amputate his right hand. After a long and painful recovery in the hospital, Matthew was finally able to come back home with his right hand, but realized his life was no longer the same. Several years have passed, and Matthew has recovered enough to go through physical therapy treatments and rehabilitation to regain some movement back in his right arm and hand. Matthew's nipple is gone. The tips of his fingers, chest, and stomach are still badly scarred. He had to learn how to write again and has trouble completing simple everyday tasks.
I struggle with brushing my teeth, with eating, with writing. Just day-to-day activities.
You were always wondering what was going to happen next with him, what was going to be the next thing the doctors were going to say, how badly hurt he is, or something like that. His neck right here gets tight, and you can see it that it pulls, that he always has to stretch his scar so that his face doesn't pull or he doesn't look different. And I know that bothers him.
As a 9-year-old child when the incident occurred, Matthew never expected that the trauma would have caused such a devastating impact on his life. Today, 7 years later, after the incident, Matthew is 16 and he continues to feel the effects from that day. He has had to learn to adapt to a new lifestyle and face a reality of the lifelong loss of independence and the endless physical, emotional, and social battles ahead of him. Matthew was a worry-free, happy, and healthy kid. He loved going to school, playing with his friends, and going to the beach to build sandcastles and swim.
He was such a kind boy. Just very pleasant to be around. He's funny. He has great personality and he's optimistic.
He did do a lot of sports. I remember him playing basketball. I remember him doing football, him doing things at school, like being in clubs or the arts and crafts. He's creative.
The outgoing Matthew spent most of his time with his brothers and sisters building forts, playing hide and seek, and going out on adventures in the neighborhood.
Me and Matthew were like really close because I guess like I was his main sister because like he could talk to me because like I'm like 4 and I'm not gonna tell anybody anything. We've always done a lot of stuff together though. We love Monopoly, we love like Sorry and all those other board games, but Uno is life.
We kind of growing up have always had each other, so we've always had to like, you know, entertain each other and play with each other. Those are the kind of activities that we do, watching movies, just entertaining each other at the house.
Matthew was smart, creative, and despite his young age, hoped to one day save the world and become a firefighter.
Matthew, you know, he was an outgoing kid. He was happy. You know, he was involved in activities where we lived in LA and having fun at school. He was, you know, a terrific son. He's a terrific young man. You know, but he was just happy and you know, just enjoying every day.
The incident has left behind a permanent impact on Matthew's life, both physically and mentally. Recovering has been a painful and ongoing process for Matthew, with the endless physical therapy treatments and treatments for his fragile skin. Matthew can no longer go to the beach, take hot showers, and has a difficult time making physical contact because of his tender and delicate body. He is unable to go a day without moisturizing his body or his skin to relieve him from dryness, irritation, pain, and worsened scarring.
What Matthew has gone through, not just the physical pain that he went through, but I realized that it's a daily thing. I realize it's a 24/7 thing. It doesn't end. It's not going to get any better tomorrow. The scar is not going to be gone tomorrow. It's not going to be gone the next day. It's not going to be gone in 3 weeks, 6 weeks. You know, we all know, Matthew knows that it's going to be there the rest of his life.
The once active and outgoing Matthew has become depressed, insecure, and has had trouble sleeping because of his drastically changed outward appearance. He is no longer the happy and outgoing kid he used to be, and is constantly angry towards his family.
It's like you can just see in his eyes that he's just so angry. It's so scary.
The fact of the matter is that he has a deformed hand, and you know, he can't take off his shirt in front of anybody because his whole chest is burnt, and that has to affect a 16-year-old. It's not, we can make it as normal as we try, but he doesn't look like a normal kid, and that has to hurt. But Matthew is not Matthew. He's not my Matthew before. He's angry all the time. He's defensive all the time. He gets into trouble. He doesn't care about his grades. He's just not okay. And he just wants to sit up in his room, listen to music. He's just not outgoing like he was before.
Growing up has been difficult because of the permanent scars. Matthew's grades have been poorly affected because he is too afraid to go to school or even leave the house due to the fear of people looking at him differently.
I know that there was an incident maybe about like 2 or 3 years ago in school where somebody called him like a burnt piece of toast. From that, like, my brother has just kind of become a person who just doesn't care about the right things, but I think that he just kind of tries to ignore it.
Wherever we go, he doesn't say it, but you can see him hide. He's a lot worried about girls, thinking like what they look like going out with him, things like that. It's hard trying to protect him, especially social media now. It's really hard what he wants to feel like or what people are going to say when you post a picture online. I'm always scared to post him online because I don't know if he's going to get mad at me or not.
You know, when Matthew meets somebody, you know, especially when he meets another young boy or a man, just typical greetings to shake hands. He'll turn so where someone can't see it, or he may not shake their hand at all. He doesn't want them to look at that.
The Gainey's future has become uncertain. Matthew is unsure if he will have to undergo more surgeries in the future and fears the possibility of his condition worsening. He has lost many years of his childhood and will miss many opportunities to live a normal teenager life.
They call me up and they tell me, oh, this happened to Matthew. Matthew didn't want to go to this program or to this thing or to that thing. And it's just that constant thing that what is going on with Matthew.
We rode down the hill and I was able to put my hands out and I was really able to go a lot of places before the accident.
Matthew's future has been limited because of his inability to physically and mentally perform any job duties.
I want to go to the military, but my mom was talking to me about what if they can't hire me? What if I can't go because of my hand, because it hurts,
Due to the gross negligence of Quicksilver, Pacific Sunwear, The Gap, and Old Navy, Matthew's laughter and creativity have been taken from him. The scarring has become a permanent and haunting reminder of that day.
He's gone through so much. He's been through so many surgeries. He's grown through this injury. I don't want this to be a handicap for my son.
Due to the tragic events on March 17, 2009, the Gainey's lives have changed forever. Matthew will continue his long and ongoing recovery, but he knows that he will never be the same again.